The Haunting of Bly Manor continues the incredibly spooky tradition of hiding ghosts in the background of shots. A tradition that scared the hell out of us back in The Haunting of Hill House. Things are a little different this time around though. Not only are the ghosts actual characters in their own right, but they are way harder to spot than before. But don't fret, as we've done the hard ghost hunting work for you, using our patented Spectre Spotter 3000. I basically just turned the brightness up on my editing software. So here is every hidden ghost that we found in order of appearance. Obviously there are going to be plenty of spoilers ahead, so please check the show out first before diving into this feature. And if you're after more Bly Manor coverage, we've also done a thorough breakdown of the show's ending, so make sure to check that video out too. Right, let's get ghost hunting. Okay, the very first ghost is a bit of a freebie, but trust us, they become trickier to spot from here on in. As Danny is about to cross a London street, she nearly gets run over by a London cab, and in the cab's reflection is the ghost of her ex-fiancé Edmund, his glowing spectacled eyes a haunting reminder of his tragic death. Next up, as Flora is giving Danny a perfectly splendid tour of Bly Manor, we can see a shadowy figure standing off to the side of the manor's central foyer. As the tour makes its way upstairs, we can spot the ghost of the Plague Doctor hidden off to the right of the stairs, visible through the banisters. Get used to this distinctive silhouette, as we're going to be seeing plenty more of this fella across this first episode, and across the whole season for that matter too. A little later on after the tour, we can see the Plague Doctor again hidden in the reflection of the mirror in Danny's bedroom. We can then see the outline of the Good Doctor directly behind Miles as everyone has dinner. He spookily vanishes though when the scene cuts to a wider shot. Edmund crops up again in the mirror of Flora and Miles' bathroom before Danny wipes the condensation off the mirror. But it's the Plague Doctor that steals this scene, as he pops up 5 times, yes 5 times, while Danny puts the kids to bed. First we can see him standing in Flora's room after she has her bath. Then he can be seen facing the wall in the bathroom, a bit too much like Blair Witch for my liking, before he disappears in the very next shot. He next pops up in the bathroom mirror as Danny walks through the bathroom. He can also be seen in the reflection of Flora's mirror after Danny picks up the doll of Viola. And then finally his distinctive silhouette can be seen behind Danny as she tucks Flora in for the night. He even has the audacity to move. While they're not hidden ghosts per se, I've got to mention Flora's dollhouse in this scene before we continue. If you look closely, a lot of the dolls Flora has made are actually the manor's spooky spectral inhabitants. You can see the Plague Doctor, the curly-haired child, the vicar, Perdita in the attic, the soldier, and Mrs. Gross, who's also a ghost by this point too. Mrs. Grost? Ugh. Next up, the Plague Doctor makes a couple more appearances as Danny makes a midnight cup of tea. First he appears right up in the extreme foreground of the shot, visible by his crow-like mask, then he appears behind Danny in the kitchen larder. The next day, as Danny takes a walk through the grounds with Miles and Flora, our good friend the Plague Doctor can be seen behind Danny, a sight that I first thought was a tree, but when the camera cuts back to Danny, the Doctor has disappeared. He disappears and reappears a few times over the course of this scene. As Owen the cook is serving lunch, you can see the Plague Doctor crouching down in the fireplace. Why would he do that? It's so creepy. He pops up again as Danny tucks Flora in for the night. You can see his shadowy figure lurking in the doorway to Flora's bedroom. He then jumps to inside Flora's bedroom as you can see him in the reflection of her mirror after Danny kicks the doll of Viola over. Seconds later, he appears behind Miles in the bathroom before making another appearance in the mirror of Flora's closet when Danny walks in. After Danny's nightmarish ordeal locked in the closet by the kids, the Plague Doctor can be seen again at the end of the hallway outside the kids' bedrooms. I'd recognise that beaky look anywhere by this point. And the Doctor makes his final appearance in episode 1 when Danny ventures outside in the dark, not advisable, where he can be seen lurking off in the distance behind one of the garden's bushes. The very first ghost you can see in episode 2 is super creepy, and it occurs during the sequence where Danny goes down into the basement, because of course it does. As she leaves, the shot lingers on a pile of toys and dolls. Why would that even be down there? And one of the dolls reveals himself to be a small boy as he sits up. And the same creepy child can be seen at the end of a hallway a couple of minutes later, as Danny walks through the entrance hall. Right, if you thought we'd seen the last of our pal the Plague Doctor, you would be wrong. As look, here he is chilling under a windowsill as Owen brings out a couple of cheeky G&Ts into the garden. He could be seen again for the eagle-eyed among you at the end of one of Bly Manor's many long corridors, as Jamie the gardener walks into the kitchen. And he's playing a pretty crap game of hide and seek with Danny and the kids later on in the episode too, by hiding in plain sight down an admittedly pretty dark corridor, and then right in front of Danny's face as she walks into one of the Bly Manor's many living rooms. Danny, he's right there. God, more like a blind manor. I'm so sorry. Episode 2 ends with one of the most obvious hidden ghosts. So obvious, in fact, that I nearly didn't include it on this list, but here it is anyway. During the game of hide and seek, the ghost of Miss Jessel, the kid's previous nanny, can be seen behind Danny in a doorway before she walks out of shot. Don't worry, we'll see more of her later. Episode 3 starts with a 2-for-1 bargain deal during the scene where the copper visits Bly Manor. As he's leaving, we can see in this wide shot in the entrance hall the silhouette of two ghosts. Firstly, our trusty Plague Doctor over Danny's shoulder, but we can also see the silhouette of a new spectral spook over the policeman's shoulder, that of a World War I era soldier. We get a much better view at this lad in uniform shortly later, when he can be seen behind Mrs. Grost at the end of a corridor of the main entrance hall. As the copper leaves to go, we can see the child ghost that we met in the previous episode lurking behind the porch by the front door, and then again down a hallway before Danny heads out to do a sweep of the grounds. The soldier then makes an appearance in the church, standing to attention along the left-hand side of the frame in the shadows. I only saw this one after I'd brightened the shot up a ton. Adjusted the Spectre spotter, obviously. This next one scared the crap out of me. In a flashback sequence where Peter Quint and Miss Jessel chat over tea in the kitchen while a storm rages on outside, the soldier can be seen on the far right-hand side of this shot, illuminated by the lightning strikes. Ugh. And he can be seen again, illuminated by the lightning once more, to the far right in the foreground in the scene where Miss Jessel and Quint chat in the living room. The child can be seen again later on in episode 3 in the corner of a hallway as Danny walks past. That's a big note from me. And a couple of minutes later, after the doctor leaves once he's finished visiting Flora, you can see the soldier again down the end of the hallway over Danny's right shoulder. And finally, for episode 3, two ghosts appear in the kitchen. First, you can see the Plague Doctor making one more appearance hiding under the archway of the kitchen's larder, but you can also spot the child ghost lurking by the kitchen bin. Please cease and desist. On to episode 4, and the first ghost you can spot appears in the back of this wide shot of the entrance hall after Danny nearly assaults Owen at the door to the manor. This dapper looking fella appears to be a new ghost as well, as he's wearing what appears to be 18th century clothing. Could he have been one of Viola's first victims? Who knows? We have to wait a whole half hour and towards the end of episode 4 to spot our next hidden ghost. As Danny, wine bottle in hand, walks out of the kitchen, we can see the ever-reliable Plague Doctor behind a desk in the study as she walks by. After the kids distract Danny from encountering Viola from her deathly walk, Miles goes to check that Viola is gone, and when he does, we can see a spooky shadowy figure to the left of shot in a darkened doorway. Who he or she is anyone's guess though. And finally, for episode 4, as Danny confronts the ghost of Edmund at the bonfire, we can see what appears to be the soldier ghost standing to attention behind her in the background of the shot. As you may have noticed, the hidden ghosts have started to, hide by the halfway point of the series, as other key plots begin to take centre stage. Episode 5 is relatively thin on the ground for hidden ghosts, and you really have to squint to see the first one that appears. During the scene when the Wingraves arrive at Bly Manor, you can see a spooky figure standing in the doorway of the church in the background, and when I zoomed in on this spectre, it appears to be the dapper looking 18th century fella that we saw in the entrance hall in episode 4. The next ghost we see is simply terrifying. As Mrs. Grost walks into Bly Manor, it's suddenly nighttime, and we can see a spooky old lad standing to the right of the main staircase. Oh, it's just so creepy. While this could be a whole new ghost we've yet to see, it could also be the same lad from the church door. Lastly though, for episode 5, we can see Flora's imaginary friend, the child ghost, complete with his spooky doll face, just chilling in the corner of the kitchen. Why is he there? What is he doing? Oh, brr. Episode 6 has a paltry 3 hidden ghosts that we could spot. The first is obviously the Plague Doctor, because by this point he's everywhere like some sort of plague. You can spot him in the reflection of Flora's closet mirror when her mum tells her that there's no one in there. Sorry Mrs. Wingrave, you are gravely mistaken. Next up, we can see a creepy faceless figure standing in the bathroom when Danny and Mrs. Grost go in to check on Flora, but I can't quite make out who this is though. Finally, and this one might be my least favourite in the entire series, as Danny makes her way up into the attic, you can see two figures standing behind her on either side of the staircase. The one on the left appears to be the soldier, while the ghost on the right could be the vicar. Either way, they're scary as f***. As Bly Manor reaches its conclusion, the hidden ghost becomes sparser, and you can only see 2 in episode 7. Absolutely no guesses for who the first one is. Of course, it's the ever-present Plague Doctor, who can be seen standing in the corner of this hallway as Miss Jessel makes her way to secretly meet up with Peter. The final hidden ghost you can see in Bly Manor is this shadowy figure standing over Miss Jessel's left shoulder, who spookily disappears when we next see this shot. And that is all of the hidden ghosts in The Haunting of Bly Manor. You can't see any in episodes 8 and 9 for obvious story reasons, as episode 8 deals with the context behind why the ghosts are all there in the first place, and episode 9 sees them all freed of their cursed prison. If you think we've missed any, please let us know in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, I'll see you next time.